At this place in history, we're in Colchester. I'm with Executive Director of the Vermont Historical Society, Steve Perkins. Steve, this is called Airport Park. Was there actually an airport here?
Yes, Amanda, we are standing right in the middle of the runway.
Whoa.
So Bruce Lindner, who is a local historian, is going to come out and he's going to tell us all about this really cool place.
When did there first come to be an airport here and how?
Well, the earliest information that we can find was a deed in 1945 to Charlie and Virginia Brink conveying this to them. The earliest anything on any aviation aeronautical map was in 1947, indicated Champlain Landing Field. And then later in 1956, it was on the topo map for the first time.
And what would it have looked like then?
Well, you had the north and south runways that you see here, basically, and then this way over here was the east and west runway. The buildings used to sit more over towards the road, and it was a going airport, particularly in the 60s and the 70s. I mean, this was I'll say, an affordable place to fly. You know, you weren't paying the hangar fees at Burlington or the other fees associated with the airport out there. It was very reasonable and mostly, you know, light aviation kinds of stuff.
For such a busy airport, are there really unique stories that stand out during its span?
There's a lot of stories. One of the 10 most wanted people on the FBI list landed here one night in the wintertime. Charlie came out and talked with him. Of course, didn't know who he was. He wanted to know if he could leave the plane here and put it in a hangar, then got a ride into Winooski, and later on stole a car from an auto dealership in Winooski. And I've read later on whatever happened to him. He was captured later on. In '83, I think it was, when we had the tornado.
Wow.
It came through, and particularly any fabric aircraft that were here, it really raised, you know, problems with those, punched holes in the fabric. One, it flipped over on its back, and then there was another one that, you know, the tail required a lot of work on it. It really came through here. It took all the leaves off, it took trees down. There was a piece on the hangar over here that blew off and went over towards Tanglewood, Biscayne Heights, and it was been embedded about 6 inches into a tree over there. And there was a guy that hand propped his plane over here, forgot the throttle was open as far as it was. It took off, and if you ever read the accident report, he diagrammed how many times that plane went around in a circle before it hit a big maple tree by the road, and both wings folded around, and that was the end of that. So
Yikes.
there's lots of those stories that are associated with this that I'm aware of.
So how did there come to be a park here? Because obviously you can't fly an airplane in here anymore. What was that evolution like?
The thing was that Charlie was getting ready to retire. There was a lot of pushback environmentally because he was going to sell the property to a developer, and people didn't like the idea of developing everything right in next to the bog here and any of the wetlands and things like that. So they pushed back on that, and the town was able to get a grant, and that in turn was used to develop what you see here. And then slowly but surely you see what evolved out of that into, you know, what you have for a park here today, which is impressive.
Flying into Colchester's past.
At this place in history.